Coming up, is it a kinder, gentler FAA, or are they getting tougher? Flying a drone illegally could get real expensive, like $1.9 million bucks. A place where Beechcraft heritage lives, and a helicopter simulator for the folks in the back. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
Brightline, instruments for professionals.
Is it a kinder, gentler FAA, or has it turned into a junkyard dog? The answer, surprisingly, just might be both. Hello, everyone. Welcome to AOPA Live this week. I'm Tom Haynes. Melissa Rudinger, she's in Memphis and will join us in just a minute. But first, a kinder, gentler FAA? Yes, it's true. FAA Administrator Michael Huerta announced this week a new compliance philosophy, and it means that the FAA's goal is safety, not punishment. At least that's what the administrator says. FAA Order 8000.373 says that when the deviation occurs, the agency's goal is to use the most effective method to return the individual to full compliance and prevent a recurrence. And since many deviations are because of simple mistakes or lack of understanding, the best corrective action is training and education. As Administrator Huerta said, regulators and operators have to understand the difference between accountability, which accepts responsibility and looks forward, and blame, which focuses on punishment for what's already happened.
So what's happened here is effective October 1st, inadvertent violations, diminished skill violations, minor mistakes, they won't be handled if this policy holds through the normal enforcement process. That can lead to suspensions and revocations. And instead, the FAA will offer in something called a compliance offer letter, that if you go through remedial training, then the alternative, more rigorous, disciplined enforcement process won't trigger.
But what remains to be seen is how this will actually be applied out in the field by inspectors in different regions. You can see more of my interview with Ken Mead on AOPALive.org. But now to the tougher, meaner FAA, at least when it comes to drones. Melissa Rudinger has been AOPA's lead on unmanned aerial systems. She joins us now from Memphis. So, Melissa, what's up with the FAA?
Hi, Tom. Greetings from Memphis. The FAA is proposing a civil penalty of $1.9 million. That's right, 1.9, against a company that flies a drone to take photos of high-value property and developments in urban areas. According to the FAA, Skypan International flew 65 unauthorized commercial drone flights over New York and Chicago, including 43 flights in New York's Class Bravo airspace. And they didn't talk to ATC, didn't register the aircraft, didn't have a Mode C transponder, and operated in a careless and reckless manner. Skypan told AOPA that they've been taking aerial photographs safely for 27 years in full compliance with FAA regulations. Obviously, the feds disagree, and they've gone after other drone operators. More than 20 enforcement cases so far. The highest penalty paid to date was just under $19,000.
So, Melissa, it'd be a lot easier for drone operators and pilots alike if everybody understood what the rules were and who can fly where, when. Where's the FAA in issuing those final rules?
So that's a good question, Tom. The FAA actually blew through their congressionally mandated September 2015 deadline, but they have indicated recently that they should have a final rule published by 2016.
All right, we'll look forward to that. So now, Melissa, a startling drone factoid. The industry expects to sell more than 1 million of these tiny flying machines this Christmas. That has a lot of people concerned, including Congress. And some members of Congress think the FAA is moving way too slow on this issue.
What will probably propel this, maybe actually propel your schedule, is going to be a very serious accident and incident. I can almost predict there will be one. There are just so many of these now flying that it's almost inevitable. that we have a drone hit an aircraft, and there will be probably injuries and hopefully not fatalities.
Because we can do something. Maybe it's not perfect yet. I'm sure it's not, because this is a new and evolving technology. But doing nothing in the face of a clear danger is not an excuse, to be perfectly honest.
One member of that committee has already proposed legislation that would hit a drone operator with a 1-year jail sentence for flying one of those near an aircraft. Boeing has something new flying, just for drones as a matter of fact. They just finished the first test on a diamond-shaped UAS that will have bendable wings. The design is based on Boeing's joined winged aircraft concept. The goal is to make an unmanned surveillance aircraft that will have better range. Flexible wings allow the UAS to be extremely lightweight. 360-degree surveillance will also be possible with that design. Meanwhile, back in Memphis, we have Melissa standing by. So Melissa, tell us why it is you're down south.
And I'm here in Memphis for a meeting of what the RTCA Next Gen Advisory Committee. The NAC, as we call it, brings together top FAA leadership and a cross-section of aviation industry reps to provide advice on policy issues related to implementing the satellite-based next-gen air traffic system.
Basically, we develop, through a consensus process, all of the performance standards for anything that basically has to be certified by the FAA. So the ARP standards become a means of compliance for all of the equipment that goes in the air.
RTCA was founded more than 75 years ago and is chartered by the FAA to operate federal advisory committees. Everyone from GA to the airlines to manufacturers and labor unions are all RTCA members, and we work together to make the best of the ATC system and make it the best that it can be. Tom, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. We'll be back to you shortly. Now, here's a piece of cutting-edge technology that arose from 2 scrapped pieces of equipment. And it's taken lessons learned in aviation and applying them to medicine to save lives.
So our simulator is used to help our students get acclimated to what the air medical environment is really like.
It's quiet in here now, but in a few minutes, these graduate nursing students are going to experience what it's like to be inside a helicopter with all the noise, the vibration, and then the stress of trying to save a patient. You might not think it's that much different, but working on a patient inside a helicopter is a whole different game than in a hospital or even out in the field.
If you can imagine doing CPR at a bedside in a hospital where you can stand up and over a patient, where in here you can't stand up, so it's a lot more challenging.
And up to now, there hasn't been anything to prepare student flight nurses for that experience.
This is something new for medicine.
Redbird salvaged a Sikorsky S-76 that had been damaged in Hurricane Katrina.
So we went out to Orlando, to the boneyard, found the helicopter. I took a piece of chalk, drew on the fuselage where I wanted them to cut it, and we had it brought back to Austin.
And made it to the prototype motion base for Redbird's helicopter sim.
This unit had to operate in a fairly confined environment. It had to be at the same level as a real helicopter would be on the ground, and yet it had to have motion. There aren't any motion platforms that can do that kind of thing. And when you put 4 full-size nurses or nursing students in the simulator, the entire thing weighs somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 pounds. And now that more and more men are getting into nursing, you get some pretty big boys in that simulator.
And installed it at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland.
It's pretty realistic. You have the vibration, you have the noise, you have all the motion, you have all the different phases of flight. So, you know, it really tricks your brain into thinking that you're flying.
And everything medical inside works, too.
So we have actual medical equipment. They have a real cardiac monitor, a real ventilator that they use. They have real procedure kits that they use, real equipment bags, so everything is real.
Even the patient, Sim Man, can mimic the responses of a real human. And if the students make a mistake, guess what? He crashes.
So they may pick up a patient somewhere that's perfectly stable and get a handoff from, say maybe they're at the scene of an accident, they pick up a patient, they get the patient into the aircraft, and it's always, you know, they get everything packaged and everything seems good to go, and you get into the air for 5 minutes and the patient starts to crash, of course. So they've either missed something, or maybe the patient's just declining in their medical status, so they have to intervene. They may have to do a procedure, they may have to start medication, they may need to start blood, whatever it is. So they have to figure out what's going on, and they have to do it in the back of the aircraft.
Students fly real missions in real time, board that chopper, fly to the accident scene, stabilize the patient, and fly back to the hospital.
there's really, frankly, no limit to the places we can go. Now, this simulator, because it's in Case Western Reserve University, it's in Cleveland, most of the scenarios have been built around the Cleveland area, so they have highly detailed renderings of all of the buildings and all of the highways, so they can go to specific intersections and go to specific hospitals. There's hospitals all over this city and helipads everywhere.
Great of use of a good old airframe. Nice to see it put to work again. Coming up after the break, some new birds and some old birds. You're watching AOPA Live this week.
Experience the thrill from closer than ever before when the world's fastest motorsports series takes to the sky. The Red Bull Air Race World Championship returns to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, October 17th and 18th. Tickets now on sale.
Welcome back. You're watching AOPA Live this week. Joining us again from Memphis, Melissa Rittinger. So Melissa, some interesting aircraft there behind you. What's up with that?
There sure are. So we are here in the hangar of the Commemorative Air Force's Memphis Wing. Over my shoulder is a Stearman and a Royal Navy Hawker Sea Fury. This particular Sea Fury saw combat action with the British Royal Navy. It flew off aircraft carriers in support of U.S. troops during the Korean War. The Sea Fury is the fastest propeller-driven fighter ever built. It is just one of a few great airplanes here in the hangar. We are at the DeWitt, Spain airport, just off the Mississippi River north of downtown Memphis. Mark Baker and I are not the only AOPA staff members in Tennessee this week. Many of us are headed to Tullahoma this weekend for the AOPA Tullahoma Regional Fly-In. And that's where we find AOPA Lives' Paul Harrop with a look at what's in store for the fly-in.
Yeah, Melissa, we're here in Tullahoma where things are set for a great weekend at the AOPA 2015 Tullahoma Regional Fly-In. Now, the Beechcraft Heritage Museum is playing host for the event. A lot of activities going to be going on there at the museum. I got a special sneak peek of their facilities.
Nestled in the rolling hills of Tullahoma is an inviting place full of history.
So the Beechcraft Heritage Museum started in 1973. The idea was to collect one of each model of Staggerwing.
And since then, the collection has grown. It's spread out over several buildings.
And you'll see a collection of over 35 aircraft here, 50,000 square feet worth of hangar space, and what we like to call beautifully elegant, comfortable. So when you come in the museum, one of the first things we hope is that you'll be comfortable when you walk in. You'll feel like it's at home. You won't feel like you're in an old aircraft hangar.
Even if the hangar is full of old aircraft, and full it is. From the very first Beechcraft through Travel Airs and early Bonanzas, this gem is number 18.
The panel is something of a unique design in those days. Make the instruments easy to see, make all the switches easy to reach. They use certain colors so that your eyes would pick up the indications, but it's an elegant design. The traditional, what we know as piano keys, switches for raising the landing gear or lowering the flaps. Just a very, very unique design.
And talk about design. You'll really learn a new appreciation for the beauty of Beech. This polished Model 18 sits as a shining beacon from an era long lost, waiting to be discovered by future aviators.
We care a lot about Beechcraft, but we also care about aviation. We have youth education programs, which is the next generation to keep these machines flying.
And while this little guy may not fully appreciate the starship he's playing in, seeing young people get a taste of aviation makes the effort that goes into this collection worth it for curator Wade McNabb.
To me, it means a place you can come and see the early days of aviation through the modern days of aviation.
And maybe a little bit of its future, too.
Now, one of the cool things about the Beechcraft Heritage Museum is it's not your father's stuffy old exhibit-filled museum. They have several airplanes that they hope that you'll climb up in and sit there and make airplane noises. I may be guilty of sitting in the Beechcraft Starship left seat for longer than I care to admit. But it's definitely a cool facility, and they are heavily involved this weekend. They're ready to welcome you, as are we. We hope to see you this weekend. In Tullahoma, Tennessee, Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
Thanks, Paul. It looks like a lot of fun things to see and do in Tullahoma. And I'll be over there as soon as we wrap up here in Memphis. I do hope you'll join us for our final regional fly-in of the year. The weather looks great, and it will be lots of fun. There's still time to make it, so get all the details at aopa.org/fly-in. Now back to you, Tom.
All right, thanks, Melissa. I look forward to seeing both you and Paul down in Tennessee. Now let's move out to sea, where the F-35 is working on getting its sea legs. The multi-role fighter is working on arrested landings and catapult takeoffs on the USS Eisenhower. That's part of the development program for the new aircraft. It also features a unique helmet that allows the pilot to see through the aircraft. You may recall I got a sample of that in April of last year. You can see that video on AOPALive.org. Search F-35 helmet. Cessna is moving toward a new record. The company is just about to deliver number 2,500 of its big, beefy Caravan. This milestone aircraft will go to Bering Air in Nome, Alaska. It'll get a special floor and be put to some hard work, just what those birds love to do. And speaking of Cessna, it started deliveries of its Latitude business jet. And to bring the big bird to market, Cessna developed some new ways to build it. Here's more from Tom Horn.
Let's take an inside look at Textron's brand new Citation Latitude. As you can see, it's a mid-sized jet with moderately swept wings. It can fly passengers up to 2,850 nautical miles in style and comfort. Speeds of up to 0.8 Mach are possible, thanks to the Latitude's twin 5,907-pound thrust Pratt & Whitney engines. But now let's take a behind-the-scenes peek at how Latitudes are built.
We're excited about what we're calling Factory of the Future, and for us it's really 4 different elements. It's changing the way we design airplanes, and the Latitude is not just a small step, it's a giant step forward in how it's engineered. And because we're already in full rate production on the Latitude, and it's going together better than any airplane before. We're investing in new automated equipment in manufacturing of the detailed components. So investing in the fabrication, the tooling, changing how we assemble airplanes as well. But it's more than automation. It's converting our factory to one that's more digital. Now we're using that information to the operator on the factory floor, and they can see computer animated graphics of how to put the aircraft together. That's enabled us to go to market faster in Latitude than we've ever gone before. The Latitude is a giant step towards our Factory of the Future, and we're excited about more new models coming in the future that will accelerate the pace of change in our factory. You know, these changes that we're making, ultimately, they benefit our customers. Our customers are going to see a better airplane than they've ever seen before. They're going to see fit and finish that meets ever-evolving expectations of our demanding customers, and I think they're going to be pretty excited about the products that we're delivering.
Draper takes us past the subassembly area, much of which is set aside for drilling and other detail work by robots.
So you can see a new concept. You know, nowhere else in our factory are we building airplanes vertically. Historically, that would all be down, laid down in a horizontal position. We thought it would work, you know, but we tried it, and the workforce really likes it. You can work longer hours without, you know, exhausting the body. So we're not only we get better quality, we get better productivity out of it.
Next, we met up with John Danduran, Director of Assembly Operations.
As we go forward throughout the line, you'll see the different major segments that come together on the aircraft. Standing in front of us, we have the tail cone. It's a 2-piece tail cone that comes together because of the size of the baggage area on the Latitude. So we have tools that will fuse mate or mate those sections together. Those sections then, as we go forward in the process, will meet up with the aft cabin and the forward cabin. So we build in different segments, and those all come together in what we call our fuse mate tool.
The wings are assembled vertically as well, in jigs that hold the spars, ribs, and other framework.
Once the spars and the webbing are put together, the wing skins are brought into the area. The wing skins then get fit to the spars, get drilled out and installed onto the wing frame. At this point, we've come down out of the large wing skins. The structure, the mechanical structure, is nearly complete at this stage. We'll begin installing plumbing and electrical systems into the wing. It'll move through a couple of other production steps, and before it leaves the wing area, we'll wet test as well as air test the wing to make sure that we have a solid fuel bay.
And now comes a moment of high drama. It's the Wingmate, where a deft crane operator and other key assistants carefully lower the fuselage onto the wing assembly and insert the wing attach bolts. Wingmate is such a big deal that customers often come by to watch. No pressure on the workers here. Next, the tail is attached, and then the crane brings the Pratt & Whitney engines. Now comes the end of the line. The airplane is almost complete.
So this is position number 1.
Correct. This is the last stop before we go out the door. In this position, the structure of the aircraft is basically complete. All the systems have been installed, and the primary function of this position is to test all the systems, make sure that everything is operating properly before we go out to our flight department and get ready for first flight of the aircraft.
Tom Horn, AOPA Live.
Thanks, Tom. Next week, he'll show you what it's like to fly the Latitude, and you'll be able to read much more about it in the upcoming November issue of AOPA Pilot Turbine Edition. Well, that'll do it for this edition of AOPA Live this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here next Thursday.